certification of the vote. They were called there by Donald Trump.
If it's a non sequitur, then you in 2021 were using a non sequitur when you made the argument that from the appearance of this, it could not have been an insurrection.
2021 Destiny was incorrect because 2021 Destiny didn't have the historical context to understand an insurrection. If you want to bring him on here and talk to him, you can.
I am
don't
talking
agree with
to him.
everything that
You're
I said.
not
You're
you.
not. I am 2024 Destiny. I have learned more things. I have done more studying. I've read more papers, and I've done more research on this.
Andrew Wilson went on the Fresh and Fit podcast to debate the woke streamer Destiny, and as you could probably expect, as what normally happens whenever Andrew Wilson and Destiny meet, things got extremely heated, things got personal, and Andrew Wilson triggered Destiny by absolutely destroying him. And he called out all of his debate tactics that he always uses. And Andrew Wilson absolutely annihilated this woke idiot Destiny. Let's get into this clip here from the Fresh and Fit podcast where Andrew Wilson annihilates this woke idiot Destiny in this live heated debate.
Okay. So, Destiny, would you agree with me that the motivation for demonizing the opposition political party often revolves around calling them traitors, accusing them of treason, and pushing for, some type of villainization that they are against the country, they are against you, they are against everybody?
For another debate, maybe, but that's not at all any of the subject matter here.
Well, I think it is. I think it ties in because I believe that the motivation for why you're claiming that the other side are a bunch of insurrectionists, though you have no direct evidence of this, and your own criteria is just that of basically a riot, that your motivation is just to demonize the opposition.
Sure, but this isn't a debate over my motivation. I could be motivated by 100 million different bad faith factors, and literally none of them would be relevant to this conversation. It could be the fact that the DNC actually paid me money to give this precise argument, and Kamala is on the phone with me right now, and it wouldn't have any impact on this particular debate.
I think it would be. I think that the motivation for why you're making the argument itself would have an impact on the debate. But I am willing to concede that if you just want to keep it.
You know what's funny? I just thought about this when I heard Destiny say what he just said. Destiny has been going after Lauren Chen and, Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, all these people because they allegedly got paid by Russia to say certain things, whatever. That's not what happened at all, but that's what Destiny and people like him like to say. He just said that it doesn't matter if he's been paid by the DNC to have these opinions. It doesn't matter. The motivation doesn't matter. Well, if the motivation doesn't matter, why does it matter that Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Lauren Chen got paid by someone who happened to be of Russian nationality to say the same opinions that they've been saying for the last 5+ years? Why does that matter so much? Why does he act like that is a trump card for him? Every single time he's in a debate with one of them or about any sort of subject that involves them, Destiny uses that as a trump card. But yet it doesn't matter. I thought it just doesn't matter. He just said that.
To the material we can. Let's move over to point 2 then. Point 2, you say resisting any law or interference with the course of a government proceeding wouldn't fit rioting itself. How does that not fit rioting itself? Of course it does.
Well, let's say, for instance, the purpose of a riot was because you felt like the law wasn't being enforced. It wouldn't make sense to call that part of an insurrection. Let's say, for instance, that there was a lynching of a person and you felt like the cops weren't, upholding their duty or whatever. And so you decided to have a protest that turns into a riot, and you all show up with the goal of protesting and rioting because you felt like the law wasn't being carried out here. You wouldn't really call that an insurrection because they're not trying to contravene a legal process. Just because, again, you engage in unlawful conduct doesn't mean that you're trying to resist, like the implementation of the carrying out, resisting the laws.
That would be the same case with insurrection then. Insurrection would also require intent, right?
Yes. Yeah, correct. Yes. So the intent would be the contravening of the Electoral Count Act. When people say we need to march and make our voices heard on January 6th to the Capitol grounds where people are going to protest, they're protesting the execution of the Electoral Count Act, which demanded that Vice President Pence count the electoral votes. Donald Trump didn't want that. He made it very clear in the days preceding. Him, Bannon, Eastman, Chesbrough, and everybody else that was working alongside him, Sidney Powell, everybody else, was saying that we need to prevent Pence from counting the electoral vote. That was the execution of a lawful government function.
Yeah, but even if
an act, and that's what people are going there to protest.
Yeah, but even
against.
if all that's true, Destiny, it still wouldn't matter because the events of January 6th themselves, the intent of the people could have just been to riot, not indeed to commit to any sort of treasonous insurrection activity. And you have failed to demonstrate this time and time again, how this actually would meet the criteria of an insurrection. Them showing up, and just like your take in 2021, right? When you say, hey, look, the damage would have been way worse if they had shown up with the purposes of actual insurrection or some type of 1776 mindset. This is the most armed nation on planet Earth. How in the world can you say these people showed up specifically in order to do that? That makes no sense, man.
None of this law, none of that argumentation was stuck with her. People they obviously showed up to protest the certification of the vote. They were called there by Donald Trump.
If it's a non sequitur, then you in 2021 were using a non sequitur when you made the argument that from the appearance of this, it could not have been an insurrection.
2021 Destiny was incorrect because 2021 Destiny didn't have the historical context to understand an insurrection. If you want to bring him on here and talk to him, you can.
I am talking
agree with
to him.
everything that
You're
I said.
not
You're
you.
not. I am 2024 Destiny. I have learned more things. I have done more studying. I've read more papers, and I've done more research on this. There is actually a strong understanding of what an insurrection is, and there was a strong historical understanding of what an insurrection is. And the idea that a bunch of people were called on January 6th, the date wasn't a mistake. When Donald Trump sent them down there to protest, when he said we need Mike Pence to do the right thing, what was he talking about? He wanted him to contravene the law. And that's what people marched down there for them to do.
Donald Trump said 30 minutes before this began that this needed to remain a peaceful protest on Twitter.
No, he didn't. He never said that.
He did. I actually have the tweet. I have the tweet. He did say that.
In the speech, he said to fight like hell. And in the speech, he said that we need to go
I'm talking about his tweets. Why would a person put out a tweet to be peaceful if their intent was insurrection?
You know what's so funny? Destiny's just so bad faith, man. Like, it's so funny how he pretends to just care so much about the law. He's like, Donald Trump wanted Mike Pence to break the law and not count the electoral votes. And like, when it comes to left wingers, the law, like, he just throws the law out the window. Like, he doesn't care. And then when it comes to like Andrew Tate, he's like, well, technically he did human traffic people, so he broke the law and should be in jail for life. It's like, okay, what about Hunter Biden? What about them trying to, weaponize the DOJ against Donald Trump and make up all these charges that are false? He doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care about the law whenever any of that stuff comes up. Whenever, Joe Biden pardons Fauci, pardons his son, pardons all of these people on his way out, he doesn't have any complaints. He doesn't say anything at all. But when he's in a debate, because it's a bad faith debate with Andrew Wilson and with anybody else he debates, now all of a sudden he cares about the law. And he just cares so much about the American law. He cares so very much. He's just so kind-hearted.
Destiny.
Why would a person call a protest on January 6th? What do you think they were protesting?
What do you mean? They call protest. People call protests all the time. That doesn't mean that the
We're not talking about other protests. I'm asking you, what was the purpose of the protest on January 6th?
The purpose of the protest was to go out and show support for Donald J. Trump.
For what?
Well, there was a variety of reasons. I think.
No, wait. Are you telling me we can't?
I'm going to give you a variety of reasons. You can't say no. Are you saying there wasn't a variety of reasons why people didn't show up?
Nope. I think there was one clear reason.
Oh, there's only one reason why everybody showed up.
10 seconds.
Correct.
10 seconds.
Okay. What is the one clear reason? There was not a variety of reasons. Some people didn't show up just because they wanted to see what was happening. Some people didn't show up just to support the president. Some people didn't show up because they really like to go to protest.
That's time.
Everybody showed up for one reason, right?
I didn't say everybody showed up for one reason. I said they were called there for one reason. That was to protest the certification of the election.
Guys, that is time. I'm happy to let this play out longer if you guys want, and add an extra minute to the clock. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, we can add an extra minute.
I'll add an extra minute to the clock, and this is still round one of the open discourse, but just try to limit it to 1 minute, and then we'll go into round two of it, and we can go from there. And if we need more rounds at the 5 minute mark, we can absolutely do that. So
I have a problem with him ascribing motivation to all. He says there's one clear reason why everybody showed up. That's clearly not true. That doesn't even logically make sense. He could never demonstrate in a million years that there was only.
Yeah, it's a bad faith argument. This is why I never debate people, man. Like, left wingers message me all the time and they're like, hey, let's have a debate. We can do it on live stream. It'll be good. We'll get a lot of viewership. I'm just like, no, I'm good. I say I'm good. I don't have I don't want to talk to you. And then also it's always like the same few ones. Like, obviously they're normally very small channels, whatever. These larger channels, they never want to debate anyone. Destiny is one of the only ones. That's why I have like a little bit of respect for him. He's one of the only ones that's willing to debate. But like back in the day on my old channel, Justin is Lost, I used to do debates on live streams. And it just got so tiring dealing with these bad faith actors, dealing with these same bad faith arguments over and over and over again. It's so tiring. And that's why I respect people like Andrew Wilson so much, because he's willing to go deal with these people and their bad faith arguments, and he sees right through it and he doesn't give in to it. That's why I respect people like Andrew Wilson so much. He's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite debater on the YouTube platform, because he does not let this stuff bother him. He doesn't let it get to him, and he just calls it out. He's about to call it out here in a second, what Destiny's doing. But that's why, for me, like, I can't do the debate thing, man. I can't deal with these leftists. I can't deal with them. They're so insufferable.
Only one clear reason why everybody showed up. That's a nonsensical argument, Destiny.
That's not the argument that I'm making. If the argument you made. If the debate is whether or not January 6th is an insurrection, not did every single person on January 6th engage in the crime of insurrection, or did every single person on January 6th go with the intent to commit
why did you say there was one clear reason?
I said that there was a clear reason why people were called there, because there was. Donald Trump called people there to protest not on January 5th and not on January 7th and not in a random part of DC and not in a random part of the country. He called them on January 6th to the ellipses that was less than a mile walk away from the Capitol building, which is where he sent every single person after his speech. He called them there on the day of the certification of the vote.
That doesn't tell us their motivation.
Trying to pressure Pence to overturn the election.
That doesn't tell us their motivation.
That they need to go and protest for the lawful slates of electors to be counted, the illegitimate ones that he submitted, and people went there.
Even if I grant your logic,
violent behavior, and they managed to delay the certification of the election, which is exactly. So then, do you admit then that
no, I don't admit anything. Even if I grant your logic,
they happen to do every single thing that an insurrection calls for without actually engaging in an insurrection.
Guys, give me a chance to respond. Real fast. I not only do I concede nothing, but your logic.
We ran out of time on that round. So what I'll do is this. I can see that this is a dynamic conversation, and clearly it's going to go out the bounds sometimes of a time round. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set the clock for 10 minutes. That completes round one of the open discourse, but I see that this is a dynamic argument, and me just stopping it randomly at 5 minutes would probably be stupid. So I'm going to let it play out. I'll put 10 minutes on the clock and have you guys go at it. Is that okay with both of you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Destiny, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I don't want to interrupt you guys again like that. So I'll just go ahead and put 10 minutes on the clock, and I will start it right now. You guys, you could pick right off where you left off, Andrew. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So to respond, right, and I'll be more charitable with the time back your way now that we have 10 minutes, Destiny, but it's actually an illogical argument to make, to say, even if Donald Trump had some certain intent in his head, that would not mean that the people who were showing up for the protest had that intent. So the thing is like, for both ways, it's a double entendre for your own logic. Either one, you claim, wait a second, there's one clear reason everybody showed up, or two, no, there was no clear reason why everybody showed up. They had multiple motivations, even if Trump himself had a different motivation. This is illogical argumentation.
I'm sorry, but this would never be applied to anything. If somebody says, hey, guys, we're all going to show up.
That's not an argument either.
And I'm making the argument right now. If somebody were to make the call and say, hey, guys, we're all going to show up to go and blow this building up, and a bunch of people showed up, and then a bunch of them marched for the crowd, and then they all went, and a building got blown up, we wouldn't say, like, oh, well, we don't know what the intention of the crowd was. We don't know what the intention of the leader there was. We don't know what actually happened there, because we can't divine the intention of every single individual person.
That's a ridiculous straw man.
We can say, you can call it a straw man, but the idea that in order for me, okay, hold on. What would I need to show?
Hang on, let me respond to your first argument.
Wait, hold on. What would I need to show?
Wait, no, there's no spurging. Let me respond to the argument.
But you're not even letting me talk. You can respond to my argument. You can phrase
you made an argument.
Let
me respond, and then you can ask the second argument. I think that's fair. So when you're talking about this from a logical standpoint, when you say, oh, if somebody called and said, hey, we're all going to blow this building up, yes, I would agree that you could probably ascribe the motivation to it then. Can you show me a tweet or any type of anything from Donald Trump saying, hey, guys, show up, we're going to do an insurrection? No, you just made the shit up.
Okay, fine. So I can. So as part of Donald Trump's speech, I'll give you two quotes. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And that's what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Today, I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election. We won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. The first quote, the second.
Yeah, that's not saying, hey, let's go cause an insurrection. That's not saying that at all. And he's saying go protest. Stopping the steal doesn't mean breaking into the Capitol building and stealing, I don't know, like stealing Mike Pence out and forcing him to not certify the election. That's not at all what that means. Once again, they're all just bad faith actors, man. Not all of them, but Destiny 100% is a bad faith actor. And Andrew Wilson absolutely annihilated him here. Let me know in the comments you guys think about Andrew Wilson absolutely owning this woke streamer Destiny here in this heated debate live on the Fresh and Fit podcast.